How do we normally teach mathematical concepts to kids? The first step is usually to introduce the concept. The second step, you show some examples, and then you give a whole bunch of exercises, and the students go through the exercises, and if they've understood the concept and the examples and go through numerous exercises, they should be in a position to master the concept. Except what happens is, obviously, year after year, students end up making the same relatively simple mistakes again and again and again and again. And so what we think might be a useful idea to do in this channel is not only to focus on the concepts and the examples and some exercises, but to actually highlight some common mistakes that sometimes students end up making. And so in this video, what we will do is we will go through one such common mistake that students make with the subtraction of fractions. Okay, so we're going to make the assumption that students are familiar with subtraction. Okay, so we will start with subtraction. It will make the assumption that the students are actually familiar with subtraction. So if you ask them a question like what's 4 minus 3, they should be able to say it's 1. We ask them what is 3 minus 1, they should be able to say that it's 2. And if we say what's 4 minus 4, they should be able to say it's 0. So we're going on the assumption that they're familiar with subtraction. We'll also go with the assumption that they have been introduced to fractions, but now they're going to do a subtraction of fractions. So if you're going to look at subtraction of fractions, then let's pose the following question. What is 3 on 4 minus 1 by 3? Now, a very common mistake among students is to quickly just do the following. They say that this is just 3 minus 1 divided by 4 minus 3, which is 2 divided by 1, which is 2. Now that's clearly a wrong answer. And it's a wrong answer because you're starting with 3/4 of a whole, then you're taking some fraction away from it, then how do you end up with 2 parts? Okay, let's look at another question. Another question would be 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4. So if the student did the same mistake as he or she might have done in the previous example, they would do that's just 3 minus 1 divided by 4 minus 4, which turns out to be 2 divided by 0. That's clearly wrong again. So what we've basically been doing here is looking at an algebraic version of subtraction of fractions. And now let's look at a visual representation of the same question. Okay. Now, if we had to ask the visual version of what is 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4, what we could do is draw 2 boxes and split them into 4 equal parts. That's box number 1, that's box number 2. And this first box is meant to represent the fraction 3 on 4. So that is 3 of the 4 parts. So what we do is we color 3 of the 4 boxes. The second box is meant to represent 1 divided by 4. So what we do is we just color 1 of the 4 boxes. So now if we were to ask what's the question related to 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4, that's 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4, what we would do is make another box, break it up into 4 equal parts, and say that, look, essentially what you're meant to do is you've got 3 of these 4 parts and you're meant to take 1 of the 4 parts out of it, so you'll be effectively left with 2 of 4 parts. So what we do is you just color 2 of the 4 parts. So 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4 is just equal to 2 divided by 4, and 2 upon 4 is essentially just 1 divided by 2. Okay, so you notice here that if the student got a visual representation of the same question, which is 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4, there may be a decent chance that the person may not actually make a mistake and be able to absorb the question and the answer in a sort of visual manner. So what we just did was go through 2 ways of engaging with fractions. One was an algebraic way and one was a visual way. Another way to sort of engage with mathematical concepts and let's say fractions in particular is to try and have some sort of real world activity which you can either do in class or you can do at home. And it's quite easy to do, right? So let's try and look at the same question that we actually posed, which is what is 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4 through an apple, okay? Right, so imagine we're just sitting at home and we've got this apple and say, let's ask that question about what's 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4. So we've got a whole apple, right? And so what we'll do is we'll cut this apple into 4 pieces, okay? So we've cut the apple into, let's assume they're equal size pieces, okay? So the whole apple is now broken up into 4 pieces. And now we say, what is 3/4 of this apple? So 3/4 of the apple is 3 of those pieces under consideration. And now from this, which is 3 on 4, we want to take away 1 on 4, okay? So we take away 1 of the pieces. So essentially you're left with 2 pieces out of 4 pieces. So the fractional answer is 2 divided by 4, but these 2 are exactly half of the total number of pieces. So the answer to 3 on 4 minus 1 on 4 is 1/2 through this example with an apple.